The imagex.exe tool allows you to create Windows image files of hard drives and partitions. An image file of a hard drive is a complete copy of all the data on it. imagex is like other tools we have used to image hard drives, such as Ghost and Clonezilla. However, it has some features that are specific to the Windows image format. In parts 1 through 3, we created a bootable ISO with imagex.exe on it and prepared a hard drive with sysprep for imaging. Now in part 4, we will create the actual image with imagex and back it up to a network file server. 1. Boot off an ISO with imagex.exe on it, not the hard drive. Use the one we created in part 2. So we burned the Windows pre-boot environment ISO that we made to a CD, and we're going to boot up off of it. So of course you want to make sure that you had copied that or burned it before you ran sysprep. So we did that, and then we ran sysprep. It's shut down, it's ready to go. So I just need to go into the BIOS on the machine and make sure it's configured to boot off of the CD-ROM. So if you need to go into setup, you might need to change that, or if you have a lot of modern mainboards have a boot option. It could be like F2, F12, escape, enter, something like that. But in this case, I want to make sure I boot off the CD-ROM to boot up off of that image, that pre-boot environment ISO. So I'll do that. And it'll ask me press any key to boot from DVD, and so I shall. And it looks a lot like the Windows 7 recovery environment. Windows will start up, and when it does, one of the very first things we want to do is map that directory share. So if you haven't created one, you'll want to make sure that you've created a directory share on a server somewhere. And remember that share and local DACL permissions combine. So for whatever user or group you're using, or that you're going to use with this utility, you want to make sure that that user or group has full writable permission, both locally and on the share tab, across the network. So share tab and security tab, remember, they combine, and it's the most restrictive combination of the two. After booting from the ISO, map to a shared directory on the network with write permission. You will need this to copy your image file too across the network. Use use the letter name, host name, share name, user, and the username. And I'm just going to actually move this around and make it a little easier to see here. Again, probably the easiest colors to see on YouTube. Might be like a white background and black text. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit easier. Okay, and anyway, the command we want to use is net use, and then z : is the drive letter we want to map it to, and that'll just make it nice, nice convenient way to access it without having to worry about relative or absolute paths or UNC paths. And then / the host name, in this case, which is Frankenstein, or we could do the IP address 129.222.50.100. I don't know whether or not DNS is operating at this level, so we'll try the host name, and if that doesn't work, we'll try the IP address. And then the share name, which is images with an S, and then the user, and it's just C Germany. That's what I want to log in as. Now when I enter this, it should prompt me for a password. If I connect to it. Bad kitty. Shh. No. Shh. When I enter it, it should prompt me for a password, and in which case I'll have to type my password in. Password's invalid. Okay, good. So it sees the share, and It's asking me for the password to connect. Now I'm going to type it in, and you won't see anything because it masks it. You don't want anyone to see your password, but just be careful when you type it in and make sure that you match it exactly. And my password is, let me go ahead and type that in. Okay, command completed successfully. And in this case, I'm just going to recurse back a couple of directories and show you. So if I mount, or if I just type in z colon to go to z, it's already mounted, excuse me. And then there you can see, there's the ISO file that I previously copied there across the network. So this is where we're going to save our image file to when we use the imagex command. And if you're a Linux buff, then what we did, the net use command, where we just mounted, or where we just assigned a drive letter, that's basically like using the mount command in Linux. You know, we just gave it a drive letter, but we just kind of, you know, mounted it. So now we can access it like a local drive, even though it's really a network share on another server across the network. Okay, so that being done, go ahead and clear the screen, and I want to go back to X. Remember, X is what I was previously. These are, you know, the things that I need here as far as tools and whatnot, and my pre-boot image, or the pre-boot environment. So 3. Gather information about your environment. What do you need to image? Where will you image it to? Where is the imagex.exe command? Get the information you need to work out your command line syntax. After using the net use command, then we're all ready to use imagex and make our image. And the only thing is, again, your structure, your syntax is going to be different from mine. So you might want to explore around a little bit and figure out where things are. So first off, I want to know what I need to copy, or what I'm copying. So if I want to look for that, I'm going to start with C, because A and B are floppy normally, so you know, I start with C. And what do I see? I see Windows, program files, you know, backup, WinP. Alright, so I know. I can look at that and I can tell by the directory structure, the partitions, the files and everything. I know that's the C drive. That's what I did sysprep on. That's the image, or this is what I want to make the image of, right? What's on the C partition. And imagex is not there, but at least this gives me a piece of the puzzle, or a clue, because this is what I want to copy. And then I'm just going to start going up drive letters and poking around. Remember, your system, your structure might be completely different, so you're going to have to play with the syntax a little. You're going to have to use, you know, change directory and use drive letters and use the dir command to figure out what you want to copy, where you're copying it to, and where the imagex command is. So I know that for me, C is what I want to copy. And now if I list directories on D, well, there's the imagex command, so I know that's where I can run imagex from. And that's really all I need, because I know that Z is, so I've got a source, C, I have the imagex tool, D, and I have a directory share mounted across the network to Z. So source and destination. So I've got everything I need there, and you could explore more drive letters if you wanted to, but I've, you know, as long as you have a source and a destination and access to the imagex command, that's all you need. So in the easiest way to do it would be to be in the directory where the imagex command is, because then I don't have to use an absolute path. I can just use a relative path. 4. Now use the imagex command to image your system. Use imagex, capture, the drive letter, the file name of the image file, and then its label, and then if you want to, use the verify option. So I'm just going to type imagex, and I'm going to type capture. Okay. And I want to capture, I want to image, and then what do I want to image? Well, I want to image my partition, the C partition, right? The first partition with all my Windows files and what I sysprep, so that's going to be C colon. And where do I want to put it, or where do I want to store the image? And that's my remotely mounted network share. So it's going to be Z colon backslash, and then whatever I want to name it. And this computer's name was oops, capital P. Doesn't matter, but I guess I'm just picky. Alright, so what I want to name it, it's going to be Aphrodite.Windows image file. And the label, it could be different. Doesn't matter, but I'm just going to make it the same. That would be logical, I guess. So Aphrodite and Aphrodite, and I'm going to use the verify option just to make sure that no evil things happen across the network or bad packets or some horrible thing in the course of making this image, okay? So that should be the syntax roughly that you want to follow once you figured out what you want to copy and where you're going to copy it to and where the imagex command is using your command line tools. So I'm going to hit enter. And notice, give me a little bit of feedback. Turn on verify option for network share, scanning files and directories. And it should begin to start the imaging and copy process. Alright, and now notice that it started capturing once it completed the verification process. This could take a long time, half an hour, maybe even an hour. Depends on how fast your system is and how fast your network is, and how much or how large the image is that you're attempting to copy or image across the network.